Since the release of Zhuge Liang into Rise of Kingdoms, a lot of people have been asking me, will he stay this powerful forever, and what will the new commanders be like? So today, I will be discussing my predictions for the next set of commanders. I will talk about whatever troop type I think they will be. I will also discuss what I think they're going to bring to the open field, which commanders do I think that they will end up replacing, and also we'll discuss how they are going to change up the meta. If you want to be best prepared for the newest coming commanders, or you're just curious to know my personal thoughts on what I think they're going to do, you definitely should check out today's video. Allow me to start off with a disclaimer. Like I did when I tried to predict Zhuge Liang's release, this is all a prediction. None of this has been confirmed. There is no leaks. There is no official news on Lilith. All of this is just pretty much speculation. Now, let's discuss what troop type do I think it will be. And I think there's two routes here, okay? First of all, Lilith could go back to the normal cycle where they go Cavalry, Infantry, Archers, Leadership. And that would mean the next commanders we get are a Leadership type commander. In that situation, I'd have to predict that we would get a Trajan-like commander, a new version of Trajan. Since Trajan has been around for quite a while, a lot of people don't really use him as much anymore, but he is still very valuable, and I think Lilith knows that buffing commanders are very much in need. So if there is a new leadership commander, I predict it would be some type of a Trajan commander. This means that there will be another buff march that would come out, and it would be more of a whale commander. If another Trajan-like commander released, I doubt that they would be completely game-changing for free-to-play low spenders, but for whales, it would be a pretty big addition. Also, I think that if they were to release a new leadership commander, there definitely wouldn't be any other downsides to his active skills. So, for example, our Trajan here takes 25% increased damage. The new buff commander, I highly doubt would be taking that debuff. I'm not sure if they would give the new buffing commander a high amount of damage and make him a bit more glass cannon, or if they'll keep him a tanky type commander, which is what I presume they would do. They'd keep the buffing commander very tanky like Trajan. That's probably what would happen. But you never know with Lilith, they might change it up. And this is what we would expect. Usually you would expect Cavalry, Infantry, Archers, Leadership, and then I would have to expect something like a Trajan. We could also be seeing something similar to a Mehmed, but Honda was kind of like a Mehmed version. So I don't know if Mehmed would be a similar commander that would come out. Maybe a commander like Julius Caesar you could expect, where he's got a 5-second long buff for his own troops, and maybe a lot of all damage. Something like that is certainly possible. Possibly he gets a high amount of damage factor. That is also something that could happen if there is a leadership commander. So the two options for leaderships, I reckon there would either be a very, very buff-heavy commander like Trajan, or there would be an amplifying commander, for example, like Julius Caesar, who's going to amplify a primary, put him with, but he's not going to be that amazing. He'd be like a Honda, but a little bit different is my prediction if there were a leadership commander. Now, what if the troops were cavalry, which is the current main prediction for most players? And I think this is probably the best prediction because Lilith already did leadership commanders when they released Heraclius and when they released all the new ranged commanders. So I think that the current prediction, if I was to place one myself, is the next troops will be cavalry units. And what do I think they're going to bring? Well, currently, cavalry are losing to pretty much every single troop type. They can't beat Zhuge Liang, and I think that is actually an issue for the balance of Rise of Kingdoms. You want each troop to be able to beat the other troop. For example, if I were to be a cav main, I want to beat archer troops. I don't want to be losing to Zhuge Liang. I think that's a little bit overpowered for archers in that regard. So if I were to predict what the next cavalry troops would be, I would have to say we're looking at a Nevsky-like commander. As for skill predictions, because I think they're going to be like Nevsky, I definitely think single target damage factor. We already had AoE with Joan Prime, so I don't think they'll do a double AoE commander. They don't really do that. Usually when they release a primary commander, they go one AoE, one single target, one AoE, one single target. So I would predict a single target, pretty much tanky buffing commander. When I say buffing, I mean that they're kind of amplifying your damage commanders like Joan Prime. That means I'd have to predict 2,600 damage factor with some type of a debuff. We could be seeing a march speed reduction, and I'll talk about why that could be the case. Maybe a healing reduction as well. Something like that could be possible. If we're looking at more powerful debuffs, and all damage taken increase would be really good, and all damage taken reduction could be really good. And also a skill damage taken reduction on the active skill is certainly another possibility, because Zhuge Liang is dealing a lot of skill damage. If a new commander were to release, and they want to counter Zhuge Liang, I think that having some type of a skill damage reduction will definitely help mitigate the amount of skill damage Zhuge Liang is doing, because it's absolutely insane. So that skill damage reduction could come in on like a second skill or even a third skill. That is certainly possible. In terms of base stats, I'd certainly expect some type of health and some type of march speed. I don't know what percents we'd be looking at. Probably 60% like here, like Nevsky has 60% possible stats if he's outside of Alliance territory. And if we're looking at a commander that's going to be a primary commander, I would also expect them to have higher stats on their other skills. Whether these stats will be very high numbers, I don't know. What type of stats they'll be, I also don't know. But I definitely think that the new commander will have some type of a skill damage taken reduction somewhere in their kit to counter Zhuge Liang. Otherwise, they would be kind of redundant because Zhuge Liang will still be probably destroying them. I would also predict that the new commander will have some tanky stats such as an all damage taken reduction as well, and possibly a lot of defense. That is my current prediction, because if you want to take out Zhuge Liang, I think you need to be a fairly tanky, high damage commander, and that's what I predict the next cav commander will be. As to which cavalry commander I think that the open field commander would be similar to, there's two ways it could go. It could be a commander like Saladin, which is my current prediction, or it could be someone like Atillia. I doubt it would be someone like Atillia, but that is an option. Let's start off with the Saladin prediction and why I think this is the better prediction. We already had a Genghis Khan-like commander, that being Drone Prime. Drone Prime is kind of like Genghis Khan, but stronger. Genghis Khan has the chance to double throw his active skill, so having a Genghis Khan, but as a Drone Prime, was pretty much what Lilith was aiming for there. They made Drone Prime like a stronger Genghis Khan, who was actually maneuverable and didn't get killed instantly in the field. So if we continue on that linear chain, I would expect the next commander that's going to really be revitalized in some manner would have to be a commander like Saladin. We haven't seen a Saladin-like cav commander forever. Like, I can't think of one time we have. Saladin is quite a unique cav commander in the debuffs he's dealing, being a march speed reduction, healing effect reduction. He's also just extremely tanky. Like, his third skill, straight up 30% skill damage taken reduction and 20% counterattack damage taken reduction is crazy good. And we haven't seen anything like that since like 2017, 2018. I don't actually remember the exact year, maybe 2019. Very long time ago since we've seen anything even similar to Saladin. So if I were to place a bet, personally, I'd say it'd have to be a Saladin, because Saladin has what you want to take out as Zhuge Liang. He's just lacking on the damage factor and a little bit on the stats, but he has the stats you need. Counterattack damage taken reduction is nice, and the skill damage taken reduction will certainly help you take out a Zhuge Liang, because Zhuge Liang currently, tons of skill damage. Give a mitigation on that skill damage, he's going to be dealing a lot less damage and be a lot weaker, which will certainly help this new cav commander actually counter him. The other prediction I had is it could be an Atillia-like commander, but the issue with this is currently the meta for Rise of Kingdoms is deal as much direct damage factor as you possibly can, and you may or may not know, but Atillia deals no skill damage at all. Like, there is no skill damage in his kit. He is just the whites, so he's dealing just white damage. There is no skill damage in his whole entire kit. And when I say white damage, I mean like whenever you hit anything. If I just show you right now, you'll see that there are two types of damage. There is your active skill, and then there's your white numbers, which are just these little numbers that pop up here. Atillia is really good at getting very good white numbers, so his numbers for whites will be like 1,000 to 3,000, but he won't deal any skill damage. Like, see that red number? He won't be dealing any of that. Now, the reason I say that this could be possible is because Atillia is very tanky. He's taking a lot less skill damage, 15% reduction there. He's also got a bunch of extra just white damage, and then I'm pretty sure Takeda himself is also fairly tanky, but for the most part, I don't think it's actually possible for this to really be the route they could go, because Atillia kind of, yes, he works now, but he's a whale commander. He's not doing much for most players, and not many people would invest in an Atillia-like commander, because we don't have a good secondary to him, and that's the issue. I don't think Lilith is going to pull another Atillia Takeda with a very strong primary and an extremely strong secondary that you can only get in Mightiest Governor. I feel like the Saladin route would definitely be what is going to happen, because Saladin has the kit that you need to beat Zhuge Liang, which is why I think it will make it a much more balanced field for all players. As for talent trees, I would presume that they would have a versatility tree because they will be open field, and a cavalry tree. I think that's fairly stock standard for every open field commander at this point. Then it's really between either support, skill, or attack tree. I actually don't. There's one commander with the attack tree, and that's Atillia. I don't think they will have attack tree. They could have a support tree, they definitely could, that's certainly an option, but that also depends on their rage. If their rage gain is not very high, you know Lilith is going to give them a skill tree. If their rage gain is fairly high, or they're doing some other type of buff, or Lilith really wants them to be a secondary, they'll probably give them a support tree. So, if I had to guess, this commander is going to most likely be a primary, because it's going to be like a slightly stronger Nevsky. So if I had to guess, I would presume the next commanders will have the same skills as Nevsky, really almost the same skills as Chandragupta. All these commanders definitely are an option. They could have the Conquering Tree, that is also possible if Lilith wanted to make a brand new Cav rally. Conquering Tree is still very good for the open field. It's definitely better than Versatility Tree, but if they were to make a field commander, usually a pure field commander has the Versatility Tree and not the Conquering Tree. So my proper guess for talent trees would be a Cavalry with a Versatility with a skill tree, pretty much exactly like Nevsky. If they wanted to kind of copy Saladin, they might go Cavalry Conquering Skill, or just Cavalry Conquering Support, and you just have to run him as a primary. Because if you think about it, Henry, you still run as a primary, and he is Archer Conquering Support. Then the next option for Cavs is whether it's going to be a Garrison or a Rally. And I think it's very simple to answer here. It's 100% going to be a Rally. If Lilith releases Cavs, which is what I presume they will do, it's definitely going to be a Cav Rally. There is no way they're going to leave DIDO as the meta Garrison for this long. She has to lose her value at some point. Now, what this Cav Rally will do, I'm not too sure. I'm hoping that this Cav Rally actually becomes relevant because, for example, when Bertrand was released, no one really uses him. Yeah, he works, but if you have a Nevsky, Nevsky just works straight up better. Nevsky Joan works better. Nevsky Mina oddly works really well. So my current prediction for the next rally, there could be two ways they could go. They could go with just a standard rally, like Bertrand, for example, just extremely high single target damage with some fairly tanky stats, dealing a lot of counterattack, stuff like that. Or they could go with an XY type rally, where he's very, very fast rage cycle, dealing a ton of skill damage, but very glass cannon. And I think that also could work. It's certainly an option. Whether or not that's going to counter DIDO, I'm not too sure, because DIDO has a lot of skill damage reduction. So if I were to presume, I think that they're going to release a more not really reliant on skill damage rally. Maybe something closer to Nevsky. Because yes, Nevsky does do a lot of skill damage in his rally, but it's not completely necessary to his kit, unlike XY, where if you don't have a rage cycle on XY, his rally is just going to die pretty much instantly. So if I were to predict what the next rally would do, probably extremely high white damage with fairly decent skill damage to take out the Queen DIDO. That is my current prediction. Now, when do I predict these commanders will come out? And if I had to put down a prediction by itself, a solid prediction, I would say that within the next 2 months is when I predict the new commanders will come out. I think we'll get leaks around a month from now or a month and a half from now, and then we would expect the new commanders. This means if you want to go for the new commanders, especially if you're hoping they're cavalry, I would recommend starting to save from now. Don't wait for the leaks or the cav commanders or whatever commander it's going to be to start saving. I'd recommend if you want to get new cav marchers and you want to start to counter Zhuge Liang, you probably start saving now so that you can actually work your way towards these new cav commanders on release. I'm pretty sure that the new commanders will definitely be worth the expertise. Lilith seems to be kind of pushing for more expertise commanders. Yes, they had Joan Prime and Boudica Prime, who are a little bit different, where you don't really need their expertise, but they had Zhuge Liang recently, who's really good with expertise. They've had Sargon, who's really good with expertise. CPO, fairly good with his expertise. So I think that they're going to start pushing for more commanders that you want to expertise to make them even better. Especially since, for example, Saladin doesn't need his expertise. I think they would want to change it up a bit. And I think that they will make the new commander have an expertise that is going to be quite essential to beating Zhuge Liang in battle. If you start saving from now for most free-to-play low spenders over the next 2 to 3 months, you'll probably get yourself at least a 5551 version of the commander on the day of release. And I think that is a fairly solid place to have that commander on release day, because you'll be able to use those new, very overpowered commanders pretty much the second they come out, and that's certainly going to help your account. Now, these videos take a lot of time to make, and I only ask one thing of you today, and that's please subscribe to the channel. We are currently pushing for 1,534 subscribers within the next 3 days to have more subscribers than the amount of people that go to my school. If you do subscribe, it is much appreciated, and it really helps support the channel. Now, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.